Let's talk briefly about those national championships.
Yeah,
I had the best team in the country in 2010,
by
and
far.
we were playing beautifully and playing wonderfully, and we met you guys in the finals of match play at the honors course, and you guys whipped us.
Well, it was one of those things. I mean, I hate to bring this up, but you probably have about 5 national championships if it's stroke play. But you know what? The beauty of it turning into that is the best team doesn't always win in sports. In the World Series, the NBA Finals, the NFL, whatever it may be. And so we were a great team. We were ranked, I think, the first year when we won, I think we were ranked 6th. The second year we were ranked 4th. But we weren't the best team. There's no doubt about it. Now, we made it. I always thought we had our 1 and 2, and Henrik Norlander and Patrick Reed could match up with anybody in the country. And I thought from 3 to 7, we were as deep as anybody in the country as well. And so I had kids that had that chip on their shoulder. I had kids that loved to compete. They weren't heavily recruited. They wanted to beat somebody. They thought Augusta State was the same as Arizona State, same initials. And so they just wanted to win and wanted to beat somebody. And so I knew that once we could ever get into, the hardest part is qualifying for match play. It's tough. It's very tough. But I knew once we got into match play, we would be a very tough out because we didn't really have a weak link. We had kids that hated losing more than they loved winning. And I had 2 studs. I had 2 studs that are probably going to get you. They're going to be hard to beat in match play. Patrick's as good as I've ever seen in match play. He went 6-0, but Hendrik, I think, went 4-2 in those 2 years. But candidly, we won those because of our 3, 4, and 5 guys. I had 4 and 5 guys that just constantly went out and won matches.
Yeah, I look back on that, and people would say, "How could you lose to Augusta State? You had the best team." Well, are you kidding me? These guys were some of the toughest competitors I think I'd ever seen, and I think that's the beauty of match play is it brings competitiveness right to the forefront.
Well, it brings competitiveness. It's made college golf relevant, to be honest.
It has.
It's getting more exposure now than it ever has. I think it's made athletic directors realize more and more the importance of it. It's now on TV. All these things just weren't done before, and so I have an extreme bias to it because we would have finished 5th or 6th in stroke play both times. But you know what? That wasn't the way the format was, and my whole message to my players each day was let's just get a tee time. Let's have a tee time for the next day. And I'll never forget, and I'm going to toot your own horn a little bit, but our first national championship at the honors course. I mean, you did some, Coach, that I'll never forget. I mean, Taylor Floyd was extremely, extremely ill, and he got food poisoning, and he was up all night. And honestly, the doctor kind of left it up to the 2 of us, myself and Taylor, of whether he was even going to play or not. And I won't use the exact words Taylor said, but he pretty much said, "I'll crawl around this golf course if I have to. I'm not sitting out." And that's the kind of kids we had. And I'll never forget, you allowed that. I think he was supposed to go out in the first or second match, and you allowed him to go out in the last match to give him some time to get some IV and some fluid. And it meant the world to me, and I can't ever thank you enough for that. And he's never forgotten it as well. But that shows what we did.
I certainly didn't want a point right off the bat because you had a kid on an IV out in the parking lot in a van.
Right.
I thought, no. I mean, and honestly, when the matches were finally decided, I think Taylor and Trent Whitekiller were even on the 17th green. So he had played an amazing match, albeit he was very, very sick. And but anyway, I didn't want that to happen.
Well, that speaks to your character and also our game. Our game that it's a respect is something that I know I would have done the same in return. I hope everybody else would have done it, but who knows? But it was you dream of winning national championships. I'm not going to say I expected it, but that was. I was extremely competitive, still am very competitive, and I didn't think that just because we were at Augusta State, we couldn't win. And I carried that message on to our players. And so your job, my job, is to make our players believe they're twice as good as they really are. Outwardly humble and inwardly cocky. And I never had that problem with Patrick. He was always outwardly cocky, and he was twice as cocky on the outside as he was on the inside. He kind of missed the message there, but I guess that's what makes him one of the best 10 players in the world. But anyway, it was something you dream of, but you still, when it happens, you're just, how in the heck did it happen? And I appreciate it now, 10 years removed, what we did in those 2 years, because looking back on it and, looking at the fact that we were a $30,000 operating budget, we had 3.5 scholarships. We had heck of a facility. We had a heck of a home golf course in Forest Hills. We had great supporters, but to me, that doesn't matter. To me, that was garbage. I would never let my players think that I use that to build the chip on the shoulder. Because we didn't have the huge budgets and planes and whatever, that doesn't matter. That doesn't win you titles. Players, heart, character, grind, discipline, those are the things that win.